Hey guys, it's me. It is 7 o'clock and we are going live for IEP Secrets tonight that save you time and stress. So welcome. I'm so glad you guys could be here today. We're going to wait just a few minutes so that we can get everybody get some time to log in here. So I'm so glad you guys are here tonight. We're going to take a few minutes again to make sure that everybody has a chance to log in. But I want you guys to go ahead and like and share this post because I want to make sure that we reach all of the parents who need this information. So while we wait, you guys can comment in the comment box and let me know where you're from. I am from a really small town in Chicago suburbs, I guess technically, but we're between like Chicago and Rockford. Tiny little, well, I guess not tiny, but it's a small little farm town. We've been out here for, I don't know, 8 years now, and we really love it. So before we get started, I know that there were a lot of you that registered this that are new here, so I wanted to take some time and introduce myself. My name is Nicole Schlechter, the IEP mom, and I am kind of your resident special education advocate. I'm a former educator and mom of 4 kids. My oldest son is 12 and he is autistic with ADHD and anxiety. I attend meetings with clients, virtual or in person. I've actually been doing virtual meetings since way before COVID. I write letters for parents. I review documents for parents. I work with teachers and IEP teams, kind of behind the scenes, on anything from like writing better IEP goals to consulting to helping improve negative IEP relationships. I am really passionate about positive meetings or positive relationships at the IEP table. I think that when we all get along, it really only means more progress for our kids. So I really love helping teams kind of build bridges between parents and teachers and parents and staff so that we have better meetings for our kids. So I feel like back when I got started doing this, I really felt like I knew a lot about special education, but I guess they say, like, you know, hindsight's 20/20, so that's true still following IEP meetings. So there's, how many of you guys like think of a million things that you could have said or you should have said or you should have asked for after the meeting? Because that's kind of how I felt. And even now when I advocate for my own child, I'm an emotional parent, so like it's still very different from when I advocate for other families. But looking back at those experiences that I had at IEP meetings, I feel like I was kind of told what I needed to know in the moment. I feel like I was given those procedural safeguards, which if you haven't read those, please do, because it's going to help you. But there were still a lot of things that I just didn't know about special education, about what my rights were, about what I should be asking for. Sometimes the school it doesn't share all those secrets, and sometimes it's not intentional. Sometimes they don't know the things that they don't know what they don't know, and they've been trained a certain way to offer a certain thing, and they don't know anything beyond that. But I really believe that in order to be your child's best advocate, you need all of the information. So tonight we're going to talk about some of those IEP secrets and what you need to know and what your role is during all of those things. One of the things we're going to talk about later on is that I felt like I spent a lot of time asking for things that weren't really important. So we're going to talk about that, how to use your time more effectively tonight also. So the first secret is that parents, this is like very, very basic, but I feel like not all parents know this, and schools are definitely not telling you this, okay? You have a right to be included in IEP meetings, and I know some of you are going like, duh, of course, right? But the law says that the school has to make a best effort to schedule the meeting at a time and a place that works for parents. If you guys want to look it up in Ideal Law, it's section 300.322, parent participation, and it says that school has to notify the parents of the meeting early enough to ensure that they have an opportunity to attend. That means that they can't let you know the night before, which has happened to clients of mine. And they have to schedule the time at a mutually agreed upon time and place. And that means that when they call you and they say, oh, you have to come for this, noon meeting and you have to show up in person, and this is the only time we can do this because the IEP is going to expire if we don't do it on this day and time. They can't do that. They have to make a best effort, which means that you also can't reschedule on them 30 times, but they have to make an effort to make sure that you are able to attend the meeting at a time that is convenient and mutually agreed upon for all parties. So don't be afraid to push for that meeting to be scheduled at a time that works for you. If the time that they've given you is inconvenient or you have something else scheduled, ask to reschedule it. You have a right to be involved, and they should not be holding IEP meetings without you present, which again has happened to some of the parents that I work with. Unfortunately, they didn't know that they needed to be there, or not that they needed to be there, they wanted to be there, but they didn't know that they had a right to ask to reschedule the meeting. So it does happen. I would say more often than not, schools are really good about trying to involve parents at least in that portion of the meeting, at least in attendance. But sometimes it happens that the school, is really inflexible about time and schedules and things like that. And they have a lot of schedules too, but they should prioritize parent attendance in those meetings. Secret number 2. If things are not working or you have big concerns, you don't have to wait to the next IEP meeting to bring them up. You can call an IEP meeting at any time. You're an equal IEP team member, so if something isn't right, it's totally okay to call a meeting and discuss. Absolutely do not wait a whole year for your next annual IEP meeting. An IEP is a working document, and that means that we can change it throughout the year if we needed to. Now, I'm not saying that you should request a meeting every time that there's a problem. There's a lot of things that we can do behind the scenes to adjust things and make some changes and have some conversations behind the scenes. But you should kind of trust your parent instinct and meet with the team if things aren't going as planned, or if you're asking for something over and over and over again, make sure it's in writing. And you just feel like you're getting a lot of pushback, nobody's really listening to you, that is absolutely a reason to call a meeting. Again, put it in writing, but don't wait a year to, find out how your child's doing. You're also getting progress reports multiple times throughout the year. Typically, schools are sending those progress reports to you around report card time, and you want to compare those progress reports with your IEP goals to see if they're making expected progress. Those progress reports should say more than just making expected progress. There should be data and documentation to back up that they are working towards meeting this goal by the next annual meeting. On Sunday, we're doing IEP organization workshop, and you're getting a whole binder download emailed to you at the time of the class. And in that, there is a checklist of progress reports and what you need to look for and how you know your child is making progress towards the goal. So that is one of the things that's in there. So if you haven't registered for that, I can share the link in the comments. I don't think I put it in the title of this, but it's also in the events tab, and you can register there. That is Sunday. I don't know what time. Sorry, you'll have to go check. IEP secret number 3 is there is an entire section in the IEP that is just for parent input. I will tell you that years ago, I did not know that this was a thing. Not that I didn't go to a meeting and I didn't provide my input, but I didn't know that there was a section specifically that was just for adding parent input. My son's was blank for years. I didn't know it was a thing. What was happening is that my input, my concerns were being lost within present levels and in meeting notes. And so anybody new who was picking up my IEPs couldn't quickly look and see what was important to me. And I know my child better than anybody else at the table, and so what's important to me should be really important to whoever's looking at his IEP. But this parent input section is an opportunity for you to be that expert on your child. You know your child best. So I want you to share what works for your child, areas that they struggle in, what motivates them, what are your goals and concerns for them, like short-term and long-term goals. Write it down. Email it to the team. I usually say 24 hours ahead of time, but even if it's right before the meeting, that's okay too. When a new staff member, a new teacher, new team member opens up that IEP to review it for the first time to get to know what your child needs, you want them to be able to see what your thoughts are, what your concerns are, what you think is important, in addition to all this other stuff. Because I can promise you that our teachers are loaded, their caseloads are so full. They are not word for word every single time reading through the IEP. They're skimming for the important stuff and going back and checking when they have more time. I know that's not what we want to hear, but that's a reality. And so if you want the team to know what's important to you, we need to add it to this parent input section. Sometimes it will say parent vision statement or parent input statement or just parent input. It says different things in different IEPs, but there is a whole section just for parent input. They need to see your expert opinion, and hunting through the notes like with me, it's time consuming and it can be really easily overlooked, especially if you're giving your concerns as things go, which I see a lot of parents do. Like at the beginning, the team will generally ask you, right? Like, what are your concerns, Mom? Like, Dad, what are you concerned about? What kind of things would you like to share about your child? And you give them a few things, and then as we go through the different sections of the IEP, you provide them with more input. So that's great. We should still be doing that, but that means that your input is lost throughout those notes. So it's really important that we provide that parent input in a separate email to the school and ask the team to add it to the IEP as part of your parent input statement. Secret number 4. If your child hasn't made progress on an IEP goal in 2 years or more, we're doing something wrong. Like, there's something wrong. I said this on Monday. I want to talk about it again because it's really important. But if we've been working on IEP goals for more than 2 years, we need to reevaluate what we're doing. We should not be working on goals and not making progress. That is a waste of our time. If they aren't making progress, we need to determine why. Like, is this just not a priority skill? Like, maybe we have 20 IEP goals and this is something that's kind of like, you know, low man on the totem pole, right? Like, this is just not a priority skill. Do we need to break it down further? Is it not attainable for them? Like, do we need to take a step back and master those skills that come before this step so that we can build up to that? Is this not attainable for them? Is it not appropriate for them? If you need help determining if your goals are written effectively, that is part of what I do for clients. And I am kind of nerdy and I really enjoy writing IEP goals. So I know some of you teachers are like, what? Are you kidding me? But I'm kind of a dork and I really love special education, and IEP goals are one of my favorite things. So at the end of this, I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit more about the IEP review service, but in the review, I'm going to kind of be dissecting those IEP goals to make sure that they're appropriate, that they're well written, that they can be measured for progress. So if you've been working on those same goals for a number of years, it's probably that those goals are not written in a way that we can take accurate data on progress. That is most common thing that I see with IEP goals that have kind of been around a long time without sufficient progress. They're not written well because we can't take accurate data on what we're making progress on. Meaning we have no way of tracking if our student is making progress or not. So IEP goals should be SMART goals. We've talked about this a little bit before, but specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and timely. So if you're looking at your goals and you can't check off all of those things, we can definitely do better. Those goals are probably not appropriate, and we can do better. When you go to a meeting and you get to the goals section, those are things that you need to be looking for in those IEP goals. Secret number 5, more goals does not mean better. Remember I said that, like, maybe we have too many goals and this goal isn't a priority, but that applies to more than just goals. More does not mean better. more goals, more accommodations, more learning minutes or special education minutes, it doesn't mean that your IEP is better. In fact, I'd be willing to say that in most cases, there is a thing as too many IEP goals. Like a student's time at school is limited, right? Like our kids spend a lot of time at school, but really there is a limited amount of time. Our staff also has limited time, and although staffing is not an IEP issue itself, we really should be mindful of how thin we're stretching these services, our staff, our time, all of those things. I would much rather see a team prioritize what can be accomplished like this year reasonably, prioritize those like most important skills that we need right now, prioritize parent concerns rather than write a goal for every single thing. Like, we don't need a goal for every single thing. That doesn't mean that all of those things are not important. They are, but like, what does your child need right now to be successful next year in school and before, like beyond school, outside of school too? There's no way that we can be working on all of the things all of the time. So we should really be prioritizing what we need now, so that we can help ensure that our time working on skills is quality time, not just time spent. It doesn't matter if you have 60 minutes a day of special education resource time. If we're working on 12 goals, that might not be enough time, and any more time would take away from something else. Maybe that's what we need to do, is take away from something else, but we really need to focus on what our priority skills are right now. IEP Secret Number 6 is, you guys have heard me say this before, we don't do that here. How many of you guys have heard that in an IEP meeting? Or they say something like, well, this is all that we have to offer. This is how our district does it. This is what the district can offer you. That isn't an acceptable response when you ask for something. We don't do that here. Is not a reasonable response. We do not accept that. You say that to me in a meeting and my answer is no. Like, no, just no, we're not going to do that. That's not an answer. Try again. Your child has an IEP. It's an individual education plan, right? So the IEP is individualized to meet your child's unique needs, and that term, unique needs, is in the law specifically. Not all children with autism or all children with dyslexia need the same thing, right? Unique needs means specifically, what does your child need to be successful? What does your child need to learn the same thing as their peers? If your school is using the phrase, we don't do that here, what you should be doing is asking to see the policy. Okay, you don't do that here, but is there a policy to dictate that we really don't do that here? Chances are there is no policy in writing. It's just something that's common practice within the district. So if you ask for the policy, they're still not willing to budge, request that they put that refusal for whatever you're asking in writing, because if it isn't in writing, it didn't happen, right? So make sure that you're reading over the notes after the IEP to make sure that your account of what you're asking for is in writing and it's accurately portrayed in the notes. And that doesn't just go for things that you're asking for, but that should go for every single meeting. You should be reading those meeting notes to make sure that everything that's documented is actually what happened. Because what happens is that generally you have 12 people sitting at a table, and one of them is the note taker, and they're just like typing away, taking the notes, trying to like pick up everything that's happening as we talk in real time. Things get missed, things get misunderstood, sometimes things get forgotten. So we want to make sure that everything that's in writing is actually what happened. The last year that we had at school was really different. This year, it's still going to be really different from every other year that your child has had an IEP probably. So even if you feel like your school has been serving your child well, the last years have really changed like everything that we know about school and special education, and I don't want your kids to be left behind. So that's part of the reason why I do these workshops, so that I can make sure that you guys are getting the information that you need. But now, before school starts, it's kind of that time that you need to ask for a second opinion on your child's IEP. Once school starts in a few weeks, I'm only doing those IEP reviews for current client families just because I do not have time to do these outside of that. The assessment, the IEP review, it includes a 30-minute consultation where we talk about what your goals and your concerns are. I learn about your child and who they are and what they're struggling with and where they're going and where they've been, all of those things. We talk about prioritization of goals and accommodations. I'm going to review your child's IEP and I'm going to help you prioritize those goals and accommodations. I'm going to rewrite the goals if they need to. I'm going to add and subtract some accommodations depending on what I think your child needs. So you're getting all of those recommendations. The exact special education language that you need to use to get what you're asking for without fighting is going to be in that IEP review. Those are generally like 2 to 4 pages of notes from me of things that can be improved in your child's IEP, and you're going to get 3 specific things that you can change or add to your child's IEP so that we're making more progress at school. So typically this IEP review is $107, but it is discounted to $97 just until Saturday. Saturday is the last day for you guys to get that IEP review. When my son was younger, I really second-guessed myself as a parent at school. Even though I really knew my child best, I still do, I didn't ask enough questions, and I wasn't really sure what to ask for. Like I said before, I wasn't sure what to ask for, but I knew I should be asking questions, so I spent time asking for things and talking about things at the IEP table that really were not a priority. They didn't really matter in the end. I didn't ask the right questions because I didn't know what to ask, and I really second-guessed myself. Like, I would ask for something, and the team would kind of explain it to me, and it would sound okay, and so I just kind of let the team lead my child's education. And as a result, for anybody who has been following me, you guys know that was a huge mistake on my end. My son was really left behind at school, and it took months of fighting and tears and more fighting and more meetings for me to recognize that I had made a mistake. So if you do nothing else as a parent and you never need to hire an advocate to sit at the table with you, that's totally okay. But getting an unbiased second opinion on your child's IEP is something that you really don't want to skip on. I started this career because I don't want your children to feel like my son fell. I don't want any other parents to look back at their child's education and say, I wish I had asked for help sooner, because that's exactly how I felt. I felt like I knew enough and I trusted my team, and it wasn't that we had a bad team, it was that we needed somebody, a new set of eyes to look at everything, and I needed to know what specific things I was supposed to be asking for. So if you're ready to maximize progress this upcoming year, leave me a note in the comments, and I will send you the direct link. It is also in the title of this video. I'm going to go kind of scroll through, make sure that I've answered any kind of questions. But if I miss something, let me know. You guys are more than welcome to message me. If you decide that you need more support than just that IEP review, I am still booking meetings into August and September. So go ahead, you can click on the link above and set an appointment with me, or leave a note in the comments. And then just a reminder, Sunday is that workshop we're talking about IEP organization. And if there are any other things that you need to learn about, make sure that you are asking in the comments so that I can put together some more workshops. I don't have anything scheduled right now. I have a couple things that I think that we're going to talk about next, but just make sure that you guys are asking for what you need, you have questions on, and things like that. The IEP organizer though, so I talked a little bit about those progress report notes, but in addition to those like normal kind of IEP organization pages, I added prompts for you guys, questions that you should be asking, and a behavior communication log that will help you guys really get to the root cause of behavior so that we can teach our kids the skills they need to follow social expectations. So if any of this was helpful, there's also IEP Parent Academy, which is starting again in September, where we kind of go in depth over the IEP process and explain it in everyday language. You can save your spot for that. It is starting, enrollment will open up the end of August. We will start class again in September. I'm really excited about that. So if there are no more questions though, I will see you guys next time. I'll see you guys Sunday. Have a good night.